Hello guys, welcome back to my class, Busy's classes. Today we are going to read a beautiful poem from your alternative English textbook, VIBGYOR. The name of the poem is SITA, the legendary character from the great epic Ramayana, written by Toru Dutt, a famous Indian English poet. She also wrote in the French language. It's a tragic poem about the legendary character Sita, the Maharani of Ayodhya, the wife of Ramchandra. Today we will try to discuss in some detail the poem. First we will read out the poem line by line. Listen to me. First, about the poet. Toru Dutt. She was born on 4th March 1956 and she died at a very young age on August 30, 1877 at the age of I think 21 years or more. She was the youngest of 3 children of Govind Chunder Dutt, an established Bengali poet who wrote in English and French. Deeply influenced by the glamour of the West, her father converted to Christianity when Toru was 6 years old. The unexpected death of her brother Abju. Here the poet refers to 3 children, that means Toru Dutt's brother and her sister, Toru, Aru and Abju. So her brother Abju in 1865 left the family heartbroken. The family left for Europe in 1869 and the 2 sisters Toru and Aru went to French school at Nice. The next year they went to London where Toru and her sister took lessons in music. In 1871 the family moved to Cambridge where both the sisters attended lectures. They returned to Calcutta in 1873 and both sisters plunged into active writing, spending their time in the city house of Rambagan and the garden house at Bagmori. Unfortunately, this literary strain became unbearable for Aru and she soon died of consumption. This was a heart-rending calamity for Toru and her father. Her first essay was published in the Bengal magazine in 1874 and her first volume of French poems, A Sheaf Gleaned in French Fields, was printed in 1876. By 1877, Toru's health was failing and there were recurrent attacks of fever and cough spasm. She died on 30 August 1877, leaving her parents devastated. After her death, her father found an unfinished romance called Bianca, or the Young Spanish Maiden, and a French novel called La Journal de Mademoiselle, the Arvers. Toru's genius reached its culmination in ancient ballads and legends of Hindustan, published posthumously that means after her death in 1882. Toru Dutt's poetry displays a rare talent for storytelling and a deep love of nature which helped her scale the heights of poetic achievement. Here also she displays her rare talent of storytelling. She tells the ancient story of, mythical story of Sita. When she was on exile, and she used to live in the hermitage of Rishi Valmiki, Mahakavi Valmiki, who is the poet of the great epic Ramayana. So now I will read out the poem line by line. Three happy children in a darkened room. What do they gaze? What do they gaze on with wide open eyes? A dense forest where no sunbeam pries, and in its center a cleared spot. There bloom gigantic flowers and creepers that embrace tall trees. There in a quiet lucid lake, the white swans glide there, veering from the brake. The peacock springs, their hearts of wild deer race. Their patches gleam with yellow waving grain. The blue smoke from strange altars rises light. There dwells in peace the poet anchorite. Who is the poet anchorite? Valmiki, Mahakavi Valmiki. But who is this fair lady? This fair lady is Sita. Not in vain she weeps, for lo, at every tear she sheds tears from three pairs of young eyes fall amain, and bowed in sorrow are the three young heads. It is an old story, and the lay means ballad, narrative, which has evolved sad Sita from the past, is by a mother's son. It's hushed at last and melts the picture from their sight away, yet shall they remain? Shall they dream of it until the day? When shall those children by their mother's side gather, me, as erst at eventide? It's a very pathetic, tragic, moving poem. In the poem, Sita, the poet Toru Dutt conjures up the mythic past and tries to infuse into it the past glory. She gives a picture of Sita in exile. What fascinates the reader is a description of nature in which flowers, lakes, peacocks, and a herd of deer find a place. It is the hermitage of Mahakavi Valmiki. The narrator in the poem is the mother, who is telling the story of Sita in exile to her three children, Toru and her sister Aru and their brother Abju. In the darkened room, the three children gaze. Gaze at what? Gaze at the hermitage, gaze at the forest, dense, deep forest, where Sita used to live in exile. Not through their physical eyes, but through their mind's eyes. The ashram of Valmiki, the hermitage of Valmiki. They see gigantic flowers blooming on creepers that embrace tall trees, a quiet clear lake where white swans are swimming smoothly, the peacock springing, the hearts of wild deer racing, the peacock springing from the deep dense shrubs out of. So and springing the hearts of wild deer racing, small areas gleaming with yellow, waving grain. Among all this Sita is weeping. Among all these beautiful pictures of the forest, beautiful images of the forest, Sita is still weeping. She is still shedding her tears. The sorrow of Sita's life has deeply touched the children. They also start crying. They also start weeping. They feel sorry for Sita, and tears roll down through their cheeks. The children are so affected by the story of Sita that they dreamed of it whole night after their mother has finished telling the story. So, 3 happy children in a darkened room. The room was dark. They were listening to the story. The mother is telling them the story of the mythic past. She simply recreates the mythic past. The mythic past means the story of Ramayana. Sita, the Maharani of Ayodhya, the wife of Ramchandra, King Ramchandra, in exile for a second time. So she simply recreates. What do they gaze on with wide open eyes? They are looking at their mother. Actually, they are looking at the hermitage of Mahakavi Valmiki, Rishi, sage Valmiki. They can see through their mind's eyes the dense forest, deep forest, where no sunbeam prized. That means it was so dark. They were also sitting in a darkened room, and their mother were trying to tell them the story so that they can sleep. They can sleep quietly for the night, and they can see the hermitage in the midst of deep dense forest. Valmiki's ashram, a dense forest where no sunbeam pries, and its center a clear spot, and there is the clear spot, the hermitage, the ashrama of Valmiki. There bloom gigantic flowers and creepers. They see the gigantic flowers, very huge flowers, very beautiful flowers on creepers that embrace tall trees. There are many tall trees, and these creepers, these creepers bearing gigantic flowers, they simply entwined to the height of the tall trees. And they are in a quite lucid lake. The white swans glide, and they saw the white swans gliding in the very calm lake. And again they saw the peacocks. Again they saw the peacocks springing from the deep dense shrubs, opening and spreading their wings, spreading their feathers. And their herds of wild deer race, and they saw the herds of wild deer. They were running here and there, helter and skelter. And then their spexes gleam with yellow waving grain. They also saw many grains, yellow grains. They were simply dancing like waving in the bridge. And there blue smoke from strange altars rises light. They were performing the pujas worshippings and yajnas. So because of that, this smoke came from the strange altars where the rishis used to perform pujas and yajnas. There dwells in peace the poet anchorite, and the poet anchorite refers to Valmiki, Mahakavi Valmiki. So he was living there in his ashram, in his hermitage peacefully. But who is this fair lady? This fair lady refers to Sita, that tragic heroine of the whole story, the tragic character of the whole story. So this fair lady is very beautiful lady. Sita is very beautiful. When the poet tells who is this fair lady, that means who is this fair lady in the dense forest, in the deep forest? Why she is crying? That means she is none other than Sita, and she is in exile for the second time. No, this time without her husband. She was in exile all alone. Not in vain she weeps, and it is not in vain. It is not for any reason that she is weeping. She is weeping, for lo, at every tear she sheds tears from 3 pairs of young eyes fall remain. That means every tear that Sita shed, the tears roll down the cheeks of these 3 children, Toru, Aru and Abju. They also shared the same grief and sorrow with Sita. They were so moved by the tragedy, of Sita, grief and sorrow of Sita, that they used to cry. They also cried. They also started crying along with Sita whenever they saw her weeping. And bowed in sorrow are the 3 young heads. Their heads were bent low. Their heads were bent low because they were full of grief. So they could not raise their heads. They are so full of overpowered with grief and sorrow. So, and it is an old story. And the lay, it's an old story, ancient story from Ramayana. So the poet recreates the mythic past into the present. So that's so vibrant. The picture is so vibrant. Picture is so living, sort of. Which has evoked sad Sita from the past. This story of the hermitage of Valmiki, where Sita was in exile for the second time, it evokes the sad story, the tragic story of Sita. When her husband sent her to the forest for purgation or purification of some so-called sins, as he believed, and the subjects of his state or country complained about. So the narrative ballad, the narrative ballad which has evolved, set Sita from the past, and the narrative ballad was sung by a mother. So it was more pathetic. It was more tragic. It is hushed at last. Means when the mother, after some time, mother finished telling her story about Sita and mails the picture, and the picture which the 3 children had drawn in their mind, it also started melting. But still they were dreaming of the whole situation, whole circumstance. which was prevailing in the ashram of Valmiki, Mahakavi Rishi Valmiki. So they were still dreaming. They were still dreaming. They were still thinking of Sita, the legendary character from the epic Ramayana. Yet shall they dream of it until the day, and for the whole night they were dreaming. They were dreaming of Sita, Sita's grief and sorrows. Although their mother stopped telling them the story, they were still dreaming. That means it was the whole story got imprinted, in their minds, in their mind's eyes. When shall those children by their mother's side gather at me or asked at eventide? But suddenly she realizes about her own tragedy. Toru Dutt life was a series of full of tragic incidents. First, she lost her brother Abju at a very young age. Then she lost her sister Aru. Then she herself died at a very young age. So it's full of her story. Her life is her life is a series of tragic incidents and events. So here she refers to her story, life story. Then now these children are no more. She has lost her brother. She has lost her sister. They cannot gather to hear stories from their mother. So in the evening, in the night, before they go to their beds, they cannot. So it's a sort of tragic memory. It's a sort of tragic memory. It's a sort of nostalgia for her. The three children used to have a very good time when they were together, when they used to listen to their mother telling stories from Ramayana, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata and the Puranas, and they enjoyed them a lot. They enjoyed together. Now she has lost her brother and also her sister. So now who will gather at the evening, in the evening, to listen to their mother? No one, because she is all alone. She is all alone now. So her life is also a tragic one, like that of Sita, the Maharani of Ayodhya. This is all about the poem. There might be some difficult words. You can ask me later while explain it. No problem. So it's a very beautiful poem. It's a very beautiful poem written by Toru Dutt. Also, although it's a tragic one, it's a pathetic one. Now we'll try to discuss some questions in some shortly, in brief. So, what is the poem about? First question is, what is the poem about? What is the poem is about Sita, the mythological character, Sita, the wife of Lord Ram, the Maharani of Ayodhya. So then again, how many children listen to the story? 3 children. Toru Dutt, the poet herself, and her brother Abju, and her sister Aru. The 3 children listen to the story. Who dwells in peace in the forest? The poet anchorite, that means Mahakavi Valmiki. Mahakavi Valmiki, or the sage Valmiki, who was the author of the great epic Ramayana. What is the color of the what is the color of the swans which are seen gliding in the lake? The color of the swans which are seen gliding in the lake is white. No, the white swans glide in the lake. The color of the swans which are seen gliding in the lake is white. Who is the narrator of the story? The poet's mother. Toru Dutt's mother is the narrator of the story. What prevents the sunlight from entering the place? The dense forest, thickly planted forest prevents sunlight from entering the place. That's why the sunbeam, no sunbeam prize. That's why the poet calls no sunbeam prize. Name the birds and animals mentioned in the poem. The birds and animals mentioned in the poem are white swans, peacock, and deer. Where are the children sitting? The children are sitting in a darkened room. Whose heads are bowed in sorrow? While listening to the sad story of Sita, tragic story of Sita, the heads of the poet, her brother and her sister are bowed in sorrow. What does the poet remember when she listens to the story? When the poet listens to the story of Sita, sad story of Sita, she remembers the past happy days. She becomes nostalgic about her past. She remembers the past happy days of the children, of the three children. That means she along with her brother and sister, when they would listen to the story from her mother at bedtime, usually at bedtime. Why are the children weeping? The children are weeping when they hear the sad story of Sita in exile in the hermitage of Valmiki, Mahakavi Valmiki, or the sage Valmiki. Describe the hermitage where Sita is living. Sita is living in the hermitage of Valmiki when the mother narrates the story of Sita. The three children can see through their mind's eye the hermitage. The hermitage is in a dense forest, deep forest, where sunbeam, when rays of the sun cannot enter. What does the poet long for? The poet longs for those past happy days of her childhood when she along with her brother and sister would listen to her mother telling them the stories from the Ramayana and the Mahabharata or other scriptures. How does the poem? Well, in the next class we'll discuss some other questions, because the video class will be very long. So here we'll finish our class. Next time we'll continue. You can ask me your doubts. You ask me, clear your doubts. So we'll finish here. See you then. Goodbye and thank you. Thank you very much.